war with the most dangerous enemy that has ever faced mankind in his long climb from the swamp to the stars. And it's been said if we lose that war, and in so doing lose this way of freedom of ours, history will record with the greatest astonishment that those who had the most to lose did the least to prevent its happening. Well, I think it's time we ask ourselves if we still know the freedoms that were intended for us by the founding fathers. Not too long ago, two friends of mine were talking to a Cuban refugee, a businessman who had escaped from Castro. And in the midst of his story, one of my friends turned to the other and said, "We don't know how lucky we are." And the Cuban stopped and said, "How lucky you are. I had some place to escape to." And in that sentence, he told us the entire story. If we lose freedom here, there's no place to escape to. This is the last stand on earth. And this idea that government is beholden to the people, that it has no other source of power except the sovereign people, is still the newest and the most unique idea in all the long history of man's relation to man. This is the issue of this election. Whether we believe in our capacity for self-government or whether we abandon the American Revolution and confess that a little intellectual elite in a far distant capital can plan our lives for us better than we can plan them ourselves. You and I are told increasingly we have to choose between a left or right. Well, I'd like to suggest there is no such thing as a left or right. There's only an up or down. Man's old age dream, the ultimate in individual freedom consistent with law and order, or down to the ant heap of totalitarianism. And regardless of their sincerity, their humanitarian motives, those who would trade our freedom for security have embarked on this downward course.
Good morning, Patriots. How are you today? This is Mike Cook coming to you live from Central Missouri. I have to cut my videos short so I can get within the rules so that they don't ban me, but here we go. Hope you all had a great day yesterday. Things are happening, things are bubbling, but it hasn't happened yet. Will it happen? I don't know. But as Ronald Reagan said there, this is the last great hope. This is the last chance we have. That speech was made 50 years ago. That speech was made, I believe, before I was born. But it still applies so well today. Where do we run to? And that's where we stand right now. We must fight. Now, I'm telling you right now, this is either going to be decided in the courts or in the streets. I hope the courts. But that's where we are today. I have a few things I want to run through with y'all. There's a whole lot going on. And in this segment, I'm going to call Facebook jail, which they threatened me with. They shadow banned me. They fact-checked me. They did everything they could. Let them fact-check. This one, I don't care. They kick me off of here. Look for me on Rumble. Look for me on Parler. Look for me on MeWe. I've hedged my bets. I'm even on Twitter, although I don't use it much. Of course, if they ban me here, they'll ban me on Twitter and everywhere else, YouTube, and they're all connected. Well, what do you mean they're all connected? Well, I want you to hear something. This is hat tip Dan Bongino, and he's got the Senator Josh Hawley from Missouri. That's a good dude right there. Asking Zuckerberg about, do they communicate with each other? I'll let you guys decide for yourself. They'll probably fact check this. But I'm not asking you to believe this. I'm asking you to check this out for yourself. Just listen.
Talking about content moderation, I'm talking about individuals, websites, hashtags, phrases to ban. Is it your testimony that you do not communicate with Twitter or Google about content moderation, about individuals, websites, phrases, hashtags to ban? Just yes or no. Do you communicate with Twitter or Google about coordinating your policies in this way?
Senator, we do not coordinate our policies.
Do your Facebook content moderation teams communicate with their counterparts at Twitter or Google?
Senator, I'm not aware of anything specific, but I think it would be probably pretty normal for people to talk to their peers and colleagues in the industry.
It would be normal, but you don't do it?
No, I'm saying that I'm not aware of any particular conversation, but I would expect that some level of communication probably happens. But that is different from coordinating what our policies are or our responses in specific instances.
Well, fortunately, I understand that the task platform is searchable. So will you provide a list of every mention of Google or Twitter from the tasks platform to this committee?
Senator, that's something that I can follow up with you and your team after on.
Well, yes or no, I'm sure you can follow up with the list, but why don't you commit while I've got you here under oath? It's so much better to do this under oath. Will you commit now to providing a list from the tasks platform of every mention of Google or Twitter?
Senator, respectfully, I'm without having looked into this, I'm not aware of any sensitivity that might exist around that. So I don't think it would be wise for me to commit to that right now, but
So
I would be happy to follow.
How many items on the task platform reflect that Facebook, Twitter, and Google are sharing information about websites or hashtags or platforms that they want to suppress?
Senator, I do not know.
Senator, I do not know. This is the CEO of Facebook, but he doesn't know what's going on in his company. I just leave that to you for you to decide on what you think about that, because, you know, they've chosen sides. They've chosen sides. And that's okay, because we're at war and we're actually communicating on their platform, on their battleground right now. And we're talking about them. So what's going on? What's going on with the election? What's going on, man? There's just so much coming at me from different ways. Let's see here. Last night we had breaking news. I've got some screenshots of that. Let's see here. Says right here, Michigan Donald Trump tweeted this out, said Michigan just refused to certify the election results. It's a beautiful thing. It stands probably okay. So this was a county in Michigan that refused earlier in the day yesterday to certify the election. One of the biggest counties that actually, if that was not certified, it would actually turn the election. That was a big deal. So what happened? Well, shortly after the president, and I got to find my deal here. There it is. So shortly after the president tweeted that, they went back in, and let me tell you what happened. They started doxing these. You had 2 Republicans and 2 Democrats. They started doxing the Democrats all over the internet. They were threatening their families. They were threatening. I think really that the DOJ, which we know is compromised, should get in and investigate this, because the media went on a tangent there locally, and locally politicians and everybody got these people's names out, their addresses out, threatened their families. I mean, the firestorm came down on them, and they decided to go ahead and switch their votes. Because this is how, fair, honest people do it. Is they threaten people's families, right? I mean, what do they have to be afraid of? Why they wanted them to count the vote. We can't certify this vote because it's not certifiable. We need to count the vote. We need to find out what the irregularity is. There's a whole bunch of problem in this vote, and we need to straighten it out. But they didn't want to straighten it out. They just want to certify it. Move along, folks. Put your mask on, get in line, and shut up. That's what they wanted. So that's what was going on there. Is the Republicans caved under a lot of pressure. I can't blame them. I mean, some people don't have the commitment to risk their children. That's the tough road to hoe right there. So I can't blame them for doing that. I mean, what would I do if I was in their shoes? That's a tough decision. But that's what happened. So it is what it is. You can either take it or leave it. So then on the other electric vote, what's been going on in let's see, Floyd County Georgia Election Board confirms to ABC or NBC News tonight that they found 2,500 ballots. Just found them. Where'd they come from? Oh no, just ballots. Had 2,700 ballots somewhere else. So a couple times, and I think I heard that they did this actually 3 times. Just ballots. What was that? They just found ballots. We just found ballots that just weren't counted. No big deal. No stress. Don't worry about that. Nothing to see here, folks. Put your mask on and shut up. So let me give you my take on this. What they're doing, understand that Sidney Powell had said in one of her interviews, when she was talking about Dominion and she was talking about Sidel and she was talking about the software program and how it came from Venezuela and how it all was tied together, she had mentioned that there were governors and secretaries of states that were compromised and that they need to get on the right side of this issue. Who was she talking about? She was talking about the governors, the Republican governor and secretary of state of Georgia are in on it. Understand that they're not recounting, they're not taking a ballot. They're not going, okay, I have, whoa, knocked my camera down. What am I going to do? Lord have mercy. Trying to grab papers, Yep, this is what happens when you do live video and you don't see some of them video guys you watch on TV, or you watch on YouTube, they're all cut up. They cut all that stuff out when they make a mistake like that. But I'm live so you can see that I'm legit. Okay. But no, they hold up a ballot, they look at it and they say, this ballot, you see, they show it to the Republican, they show it to the Democrat, they say, this ballot right here is legit. And they agree it's legit, they put it in the pile. They look at the next ballot, they say, this ballot's legit. They show it to the Republican, they say, no, it's not legit. And then they show it to the Democrat and he says it is legit, but because the Republican said it's not legit, they put it in a not legit pile. And then they show another ballot, they show it to the Democrat and he says it's not legit, so they put it in the not legit pile. That's the way it's supposed to work. And then they go back through that not legit pile, they argue about it, and if they can't come to a conclusion with the not legit pile, I'm gonna adjust my camera. It's just a little cockeyed. Okay, there we go. And then they go and they argue about it. If they can't come to a conclusion, it goes to court. That's the way a recount's supposed to be. But what are they doing? They're taking the Dominion machines and canvassing the machines and counting the counts in the machine. So what they're doing is in a district, they got 125,000 votes in a particular district. And they're counting those. Okay, we got 125,000 votes. And then they're just taking the paper ballots that they put into the machines or printed out from the machines. And they're counting, oh, we got 125,270 or 127,000 in this case. More votes on paper than we do in the machine. What happened here? I don't know. They're not saying who those votes are for because they don't know who those votes were for because they were never counted or they were switched or they were just added or they were taken away. You see where I'm going with this? So what they have to do now is they have to take a look at the paper vote and see who circled for whom. That's when the real fun's going to begin, when they get to that. But the Secretary of State of Georgia and the Governor of Georgia, well, for some reason, they don't want to do that. I don't know why. You know, the paychecks they've been getting from the Chinese probably prevents them from doing that. So on the Mark Levin show, Linwood, he is working for the president. He's the one that represented that young kid that had the Indian in his face banging on the drums and got all these big, huge settlements from all these media companies, made that kid independently wealthy. Yeah, that's who Linwood is. So anyways, he's working for the president down in Georgia. And this is what he had to say last night on the Mark Levin show. So this is hat tip to Mark Levin.
Our government, but first we've got to have a special session of the Georgia legislature called so that they can elect the electors to vote for Donald Trump, who, by the way, won a landslide victory in Georgia, as he did across the nation. Then they're going to have a new election on all the down ballots in January because the whole process was infected by the illegal absentee ballot procedure. And it was also infected with I'll call it a computer virus. The computer voting system in Georgia, Dominion, contains software that was manipulated where they control the voting, which in a network of corporations around the globe. This election was a fraud. Donald Trump won, I believe, clearly a 70% plus landslide election in the nation. He probably won over 400 electoral votes. So we're uncovering step by step the layers on the onion. We're going to get to the truth. And the truth is Donald Trump has been reelected by this country to serve as president for 4 months. Change our...
Whoops. So the truth is Donald Trump's been reelected. They're saying now in some circles that if you take the corruption, the lies, the cheat, the steal out of it, Donald Trump won like 410 electoral votes and even flipped to California, which I predicted, and everybody laughed at me. But there's a whole lot of scamation, as my friend used to say, scamations going on around here. So let's see. Here's another little deal. This came off of Newsmax. It says malware clearly shows visible inside Seidel systems. QSnatch shows that someone is harvesting the credentials of every county that uploads to it, meaning that votes changed by Seidel's Clarity database can be remotely injected back into the country. So they gather all the credentials, meaning they got the software program. When your county clerk loads in his or her credentials into the software program, it gathers that information, and whoever is collecting that information can now enter using the clerk's information. So therefore, it looks like the clerk came in and did whatever it is they did. You understand what I'm saying? Does that make sense? That's where what's been going on. That's the depth of this, the corruption that's been going on here. That, I mean, it is just insane what's happening. So I got one more video and a couple other things to cover real quick. This is Sidney Powell, and she's also on Newsmax. And I just want you to hear a second. I'm not going to play the whole deal. You can go find it on YouTube yourself or wherever. But just want to play this little section right here. Listen close.
The tie-in is that there's no way these programs could have been run around the world to a...
Hold on a second. The question was talking about how she had mentioned the CIA and that the CIA is involved in this. So here we go.
Affect elections without the CIA. We also have had people disclose to us the whole Hammer program that was created for the CIA, and Scorecard, which is essentially the same thing. It seems like every country has used something like this to do what it wants to do. Supposedly ours was invented to influence foreign elections, but that too could have been turned on this election. It's all part of the same part and parcel of government interference in elections to make choices against the will of the people. And the will of the people in this country was that Donald Trump win in a landslide. If we can get to the bottom of it, and I am determined to do that, I think we'll find he had at least 80 million votes. The only reason the glitches happened in the system was because he had so far many more votes than they had calculated in advance. Their algorithms wouldn't perform the functions they'd originally performed or were set to perform. They couldn't make up the vote count. He had gotten so many hundreds of thousands more than they planned. So that's when they had to stop the counting and come up with a way to backfill the votes.
Yep.
Or destroy votes for Trump while they fabricated votes for Biden.
Sidney.
So listen close to what she said there. That this is a CIA operation that was using the Hammer and Scorecard system on the Dominion machines through Seidel, whatever it's called, that they had pre-selected an algorithm that would produce a percentage greater than what the turnout was for Donald Trump in the previous election against Hillary Clinton. Only us American people, we jumped on this thing and we overwhelmed that. That's why they had to stop the count in all those states. They were on TV that night. We've never seen this before. What's going on? There's no fraud, of course, because we're in on it. But that's why they had to stop, because they're like, whoa, we aren't going to have enough. So then they had to switch to the old-fashioned way. And that was losing ballots and been creating ballots, and there's even rumors. Sidney Powell was talking on another one about how they've got an insider that may be flipping, that works for the mafia, talking about how they were paying thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars to the mafia for people to quickly fill out ballots. We got to fill these ballots out in Philadelphia. So they had to switch to the old-fashioned way of stealing an election, because the newfangled way wasn't going to be enough, because the American people, well, they wasn't having it. It was you that caused that to happen. It was you that caused their system to failure. Now, I just want to go a little bit further. The CIA, the government, the deep state, we are working against what Ronald Reagan says, we are at war. We were at war back then. We're at war today. It is a worldwide war. It is not just here. Sidney Powell said this software has been used around the world. It's been used in Argentina. It's been used in Brazil. It's been used in Europe. It's been used in Asia. It's been used all around the world to manipulate elections to those that control the systems. Venezuela was the first. And our politicians in this country are completely compromised by those worldwide. This is not just the United States. This is worldwide. Donald Trump is taking on the world. He's taking on the current world order of things. Watch my video that got shadow banned from yesterday. I talked about the order of things. The other day, Donald Trump fired Chris Kurbs, the director of the CISA, over statements made debunking the various myths about this is how NBC, the various myths about voter fraud. He come out and he said, this guy said that this was the safest, most honest, most straightforward, least corrupt election in American history. That's what he said. That's right. That's what he said. Now, what is the CIA, whatever that was? What is that? What is that agency? What is this guy in charge of? Well, this guy was in charge of this agency. This is straight from their website. It's a little bit constructed, but it's the Cybersecurity Infrastructure Security Agency. So the guy that was in charge of cybersecurity infrastructure for the United States of America is in on it. You see what I'm saying? That's why Donald Trump fired him, because he showed his true colors, who he is. We are in a dividing line. We are in a dividing time. We're finding out who is and who ain't. And this is the last great buzz. I started out, if you're coming on late, go watch the beginning, because I had Ronald Reagan on there and he was talking about the last great hope for the world. And that's who we are. We must draw a line in the sand. We must draw a line in the sand. This is the end of it all. If we don't win this, if Donald Trump does not succeed, the Republicans that are on the deep state side are their party line is, we've got to win in Georgia. Forget about this winning in courts. Donald Trump needs to come down to Georgia and focus on those 2 Senate seats. Let me tell you something. If Donald Trump does not defeat this, if he does not defeat Dominion, if he does not defeat all the people involved with Dominion, there will be no winning the Senate seats in Georgia, because they'll just fix them. They'll just turn the votes in the machines. They're going to use the same damn machines. We should be using machines at all. Every election from here forward should do it the way they did it in Iraq. You go up and you sign your name and you vote your thing and you put your finger in the inkwell to show that you voted. That's what we need to do. We need to get rid of all this stuff and go back to a freaking ID. The other day, I'm 49 years old. I've got a little bit of gray hair. The other day, my wife wanted a bottle of wine. I went and bought her a bottle of wine. They ID'd me. Okay, but you can't ID me at the voting place? We're being ripped off, America. I do want to leave you on a funny note. This was tweeted out. It says, this was yesterday. It says, you media morons are laughing at Rudy Giuliani, but he appears to be already established a great rapport with the judge, who is currently offering recommendations on martini bars for the Trump team in open court. That was yesterday, my friends. So there's still hope. We have some good guys on this, regardless of what they say. we're going to win. Have faith in God. Have faith in our country. Have faith in our systems. We're going to win. But it's probably going to get a little nastier before it gets better. I was going to talk about, I knew I wouldn't have time. I was going to talk about all the crap that happened at the Mega Man March afterwards, where there was white college age girls with a Black Lives Matter shirt on, beating the crap out of a black mom and her kids with a stroller. That just blows me away. It blows me away. So expect when the votes start getting tossed out. The protectthevote.com right now has their schedule December 1st. They know it's coming. Expect violence in the streets when that happens. The Election Integrity Project, I've talked about it. They were talking like 2 days after the election that they were prepared to do it. But this thing, as our system of government is slow, is taking time. And that's intentional, the way our founding fathers meant it to be. So I'm going to jump off here. Been on here 26 minutes. That's plenty long enough. You guys have a great day. Keep watching. Keep hope. Check me out on Rumble. I'll put the link in the comments. Check me out on Parler. Check me out on MeWe, because one of these days they're liable to... I might not be around on Facebook. That's where the audience is right now. But I don't think that's where it'll be forever. Anyways, you guys have a great day. Share this video with your friends if you think they might be interested. Talk to you all.